Welcome to the woods. It's been a busy 2 weeks. Third grandchild has arrived, another grandson. This one took quite a long time, but fit, healthy, and a new addition, which is fantastic, which is the way things should be. But it's been a long 2 weeks, as I'm sure you can imagine. A lot of driving around, a lot of splitting time, and I've had issues here at the same time, so I managed to blow up another generator. Seems to be a hobby I'm getting better at, but that's sorted as well. And what's been occurring just in this upside down world we live in the last few weeks? It's it's laughable because it doesn't seem to stop. We seem to be living in an idiocracy. So there was a by-election which was won by George Galloway not too long, about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, which sent the Conservative Party into fits of panic, rage. They sent Roland Rat scuttling out to give a speech about extremism, which in and of itself is remarkably retarded. But it led on to more, didn't it? It led on to legislation being passed, to tweaks and changes to the legal system and the government reach into your life. So there was a new all-encompassing, and I do mean all-encompassing, definition of extremism. And this was apparently brought on by someone who wasn't in the Labour Party or the Conservative Party winning a by-election. And this new definition of extremism has basically put into that bracket anyone who disagrees with the way the government is carrying on its business. If you don't think the way this country is run is really working for the people, that puts you into the bracket of an extremist. And I made a couple of notes because it's worth using their terminology. You're an extremist if you advocate against the liberal parliamentary democracy. So if you don't think that liberalism, that ideology that allows men to be women and women to be men and anyone to be anything, that ideology that says that anything's okay, then you're an extremist. The one that struck a chord with me was right at the bottom, where it said that you're an extremist if you espouse or talk about establishing parallel governance structures. What does that mean? A parallel governance structure would mean a system that works for you and other people. An idea, a new way of doing things, that can no longer be talked about openly without it falling within those brackets of extremism. And I've talked about parallel structures, parallel societies, parallel governance systems for the last 3 years. That makes me an extremist. I haven't advocated for violence. I haven't advocated for dragging members of Parliament out of the House of Commons and thrown off Tower Bridge. I haven't advocated for the overthrow of the state. I haven't advocated against any group or individual. And yet simply by talking of ideas, parallel systems of different ways of doing things, stepping away from this system and creating our own, I am suddenly an extremist. I don't consider myself extreme. There's a little muntjac just walking past. I don't consider myself extreme at all. But there you go. It looks as if this whole new definition of extremism is there to do two things. It's there to safeguard a group of people, and it is there to safeguard the system itself. Not the Labour Party, not the Conservative Party, and really not even liberal democratic governance, but the whole system. I think the Conservative Party are fully aware that they will be reduced to an inconsequence after the next election. And rightly so. They've done nothing to improve the lives of the people in this country. They've done everything to make them worse. Deliberately. They have lied continually. They deserve to be eradicated from the political spectrum. But I presume they would still have maybe 1 or 2 seats and have a long, long road back. Their problem is that once they hit that bottom, their past voter base, the people that would have usually been attracted to a Conservative Party, will be looking around. They'll be looking around for someone who's going to do something for them. A party on the right. And as much as I dislike the left and right divide, it's an easy way to explain. So there will be a lot of people disgusted with what the Conservatives have done, who will be looking for a new home. And what the Conservatives have done before they hit the bottom is to label anything further right than the Conservative Party, or further right than the Liberal Democratic Party, as extreme. And they're cutting off the access to parliamentary, the whole parliamentary route. If you're labelled as an extreme organisation, you won't be able to register as a party. You won't be able to access that political route. And if you're an existing party, you won't get airtime. You won't get publicity. None of the structures of the system will work with you. And this is all being put down in legislation. And it's being done so the Conservative Party can desperately cling on to some of that previous voter base as they claw their way back over the decades, that nothing else can rise up and take their place. I don't think it will work. The problems we've got coming shortly is when the Labour Party do get in, they're going to push even harder on the things that none of us want. Even more mass immigration. A massive plan to build houses across the countryside, using, in their own words, compulsory purchase orders when they have to. Blair is still there in the background, talking into Starmer's ear, so you can bet your bottom dollar that the digital ID will be shoved to the fore. Digital IDs, mass immigration, 15-minute cities and 20-minute neighbourhoods are all coming. In fact, some of them are already here. I speak continually about how the Agenda 2030 has a list of things that these towns and areas need to provide in order to meet the requirements, and that slowly these things are all being ticked off the list. So whilst more and more people from third world countries pour into your town and village, they will be restricting the distance you can travel, how you can travel, when you can travel. It doesn't look good. Labour has nothing to offer but more of the same. More of the same. And if the whole system believes that it can continue to double down and do more of what they've been doing for the last decade, they're wrong. The people have had enough. They really have had enough. The only reason there hasn't been a mass rising of the population is they're kept stupefied. Netflix and McDonald's, comfort and convenience. But those household bills cannot continue to rise. It's becoming uncomfortable. And an uncomfortable, unhappy population makes for a potent enemy. We've seen massive pushes to reduce farming right across Europe, probably across the world. The British farmers, the Welsh farmers, the Irish farmers, all pointing out where the problems lie, and yet still with no real answers. The British government offering huge sums of money, hundreds of thousands of pounds, to farmers to quit farming, offering them incentives to diversify out of farming and into wind farms, solar farms, holiday lets, accommodation for thousands of people. The reduction in food production throughout Europe beggars belief. This will massively increase food prices, leave us wholly reliant on foreign imports. A stupid situation to put yourself in. A traitorous situation to have done that on purpose. And yet to talk about alternative routes, alternative ideas, how could we make things better, would put me in those brackets of extremist. I don't care. I really don't. I've put myself in a position where I'm okay. I will continue to help people put themselves in positions where they're okay. I just have a feeling that things are going to get massively worse. I wrote a small, not even an article, just a few paragraphs at the beginning of the year. And I said that 2024 was going to be the year that key players are put in place. And that anyone who was a threat would be taken off the board. And that individuals and groups that offered an alternative would be vilified and labelled far right. And I said far right because it seemed to be the sticker they were sticking on everything, to the point it became a joke. Everything was far right. The countryside was racist. 200-year-old paintings now, they're a danger. They're a bit extreme. Someone like me, growing patriotic potatoes and fascist carrots, you've got to watch out for people like me. I've got a squadron of right-wing chickens. These people are beyond a joke, it's not funny. It's difficult not to laugh at them, but it's not funny because what they're doing is labelling everyone as extreme. And as much as I don't care, there will be ways they come up with of dealing with extremists. And once that sticker is on, you're going to have to go a long way to get it off. And we've seen this played out. If you don't wear a mask, you can't go in the shop. If you're an extremist, you can't access the internet. Things like this will be the way they try to control. We need to come up with alternatives for nearly everything. Finance, communications, because they will try to keep us out of everything. They're terrified, absolutely terrified, that the public will see that what they're doing is wrong and there is a better way. And the only chance they've got is to hide that better way. Which is why most people like me are off of YouTube. Most people are banned. This channel is massively held back. As many subscribers as I gain, I lose the following week. It never rises, which is fine. This gives me an opportunity to talk. Friends out there, do share these videos. The message does get out there. In the worst case scenario, have you got a plan? If you can't access the internet because you haven't got a digital ID or you're labelled as an extremist, how are you going to do your banking? How are you going to communicate with people? What are you going to do if they say you can't travel because you're an extremist? All of these things are worth pondering. It's worth looking at alternatives now before the situation gets that far. And that's how far they want it to get. I'll leave this one here. Try and enjoy the spot of sunshine that we've got. It's a crazy, crazy world, and they can't keep pushing. And we will continue to talk about alternatives, ways forward. I'm going to do another video after this for the Woodlander Initiative. If you remember, I will try to get the video posted up tomorrow. If you're not, you need to ask yourself why not. And I will speak to you all soon. Take it easy, you lot. Don't let the bastards grind you down.